Namaste everyone. This presentation is based on a paper that we published this year. Here is the link to the paper. It aims to study the history of AI research and aims to make a very approximate prediction of the future based on the history, right? So, what was the method that we used in this work? We used Google Scholar to observe the trend of publications in different time periods using a few selected keywords of interest. So, these were the keywords of interest: AI, ML, neural network, and generative AI, right? We can immediately go into the results and discussion. So let us first look at some of the charts. So this is the all the papers and publications mentioning the keyword artificial intelligence from 1960 to 2023. As you can see, the vertical axis is logarithmic axis. So uh, this was necessary to take into account the wide range of publications. So in 1960, the number of annual publications was around 100. In 2020, the number of publications was around 1 million, less than 1 million. So the logarithmic scale was used on the y-axis. But a feature of the logarithmic scale is that the vertical artifacts get compressed, right? Due to the nature of the logarithm. Um, so these humps and troughs that we see here would be larger if we had not used a logarithmic chart, right? Given that this is a logarithmic y scale, note that there is a hump at the end, a huge hump, and how enormous it would be in the non-logarithmic y scale in the real data, right? So this is the most prominent feature of this story. There are other features as well. For example, there is a sharp hump over here around 1970, and there are some other dips and humps in between, right? But relatively, uh, except this large hump, this is the sharpest hump in the history, right? So let us also look at a few other charts, and then we will go into the discussion section and see what it means. So this hump from 2014 to 2023 has been enlarged here, and here only the keyword artificial intelligence was seen, was observed. Here I we tried to also see ML and neural network, machine learning and neural network publication. So this was just to see whether if there is a change in language. So we see in the AI publications there is a hump, so they increase and then they crash down around 2023. But it came to my mind that is could it be due to a change in language? Could it be that the papers are not using the keyword artificial intelligence, but they have started using the keyword machine learning or neural network, right? So we can see that it is not the case. There is a fall in all kinds of publications related to AI, right? Even ML publications show a growth and fall. Even paper publications mentioning neural network show a growth and then fall, right? This data is from 2014 to 2023. Then I also tried to see what is the case for generative AI publications. So the publications mentioning generative AI, there is a sharp jump in the number of publications very recently in 2023, right? This data was collected just before end of 2023. Um, so this is not till the last day of 2023. This is another chart that we will revisit when we come back. So this chart shows the year-wise rate of change. So year on year, how much percentage increase or decrease was there in the number of publications, right? So this shows a lot of uh, things that happen in the history of AI research and can also give some predictions for the future. So AI research started around 1960 uh, with the advent of Mark I perceptron, um, which was the first AI computer that was invented. It was not only a concept, as you can see here. It was a fully functional AI computer, which in fact, was able to do simple linear classification tasks as well, like classification of uh, between two letters, differentiating between two letters, or things like that, right? So even at that time, if you see, this is the quote of New York Times, that they are saying that it will be able to eventually be able to walk, talk, see, write, reproduce, and so on, and be conscious also. Also, this is a kind of a positive sentiment, and there were fears also. In Oklahoma Times, it was mentioned that it is a Frankenstein monster. So you see that right from the birth of AI, we see that there is a strong positive as well as negative sentiment. And this we will see again and again throughout its journey, that there is an over optimism, and then over optimism combined with fear that it will become something of it will run away and think on its own. And then with time we see that no, it is not that big of a deal. And then another revolution comes, and then people think that okay, it will again change everything. And then again we see that no, it is not changing that much. This story will keep on repeating itself. So this is the first Mark I perceptron. Immediately after that, not immediately, because it took around 10 years when the interest went on increasing. And then there was a sharp fall in interest around 1969 when the book named Perceptrons was published. It was published by Marvin Minsky and Seymour Papert, and they mathematically proved that a perceptron, even in the ideal case, can only differentiate between linearly separable categories. So this immediately brought the entire AI world crashing down and created what is known as the AI winter, the first AI winter in the early years of 1970s. Right? This is a known phenomenon. There is also a Wikipedia page named AI winter, and you can see this here that around 1970 there was a sharp increase in the number of publications because there was a debate related to perceptrons, but then immediately the interest waned and it came crashing down. So this is the first AI winter, right? Then thereafter, um, neural networks, deep neural networks, and the power of neural networks was discovered. Um, it was mainly led by Japanese scientists Shunichi Amari and Kunihiko Fukushima. So Fukushima discovered CNN in 1980, and Shunichi Amari designed the RNN in 1972, as well as he first designed the DNN in 1967. So he was well ahead of his times, but the computers at that time were not capable, and it took around 1980s for the capability of computers to match the design power of Shunichi Amari. So what he had designed, it could not work well earlier, but in the 1980s, its power was realized. Uh, so from 1982 to 1988, we can see another boom in the AI interest and activity, and we can see that due to the popularization of neural networks, there is a burst of activity with the publications increasing year after year for a long time till 1990, right? Then again, there is a simple zigzag pattern, which is the most common feature of this chart. You see, as I had mentioned previously also, that you will notice that there is a rise and fall of interest, a repeated rise and fall of interest, like an elastic rubber ball, like a bouncing rubber ball. So the interest increases a lot, and then it falls, and then it increases, and then it falls, and so on. So a simple rise and fall is just in the nature of this chart, but the sharp ones can be correlated to some major events, right? So this is a sharp one here. These were some sharp ones. So here also interest, we can see that it it kept on gradually increasing, because every year the number of publications increased slightly. Some years it increased rapidly, some years it fell by a small amount, and so on. But it, gradually the trend was on the higher side. After the neural network revolution of the 1980s, we see that from 2015 to 2020, there was another unprecedented burst of activity in AI, right? Um, we see that publications in the year 2014 mentioning AI were 1,69,000, and they increased to 590,000 in the year 2019, and it showed double digit growth rates year over year, from 12% in the year 2016 up to as much as 45% in the year 2018, right? So what caused this unprecedented burst in activity? It is my opinion, and also corroborated by some others like Professor Bhiksha Raj from the Carnegie Mellon University, that this activity was because large scale deep neural networks uh, became widely possible and available throughout the world. How did that happen? It was because of the large and wide availability of cloud computing revolution, through the rise of cloud computing services like AWS and Azure and so on. Um, it led to even a college student, a PhD student, having access to state of the art architecture and machines, and at low cost, and they could experiment with the large AI models, right? So this enabled this unprecedented boom, which can also be seen here, uh, that this boom here was due to cheap and wide availability of cloud computing, right? So and this is the hump that we see here. So this is the rise cause of the rise of the hump here, is probably the availability of cheap cloud computing. And interestingly, this this unprecedented spectacular rise was followed by an equally spectacular decimation, an equally spectacular fall. This is not completely unexpected because we see this rise and fall all the time, and sharp rises have led to sharp falls as well many times, right? So sharp rises are not sustainable. But you see, this fall was absolutely unprecedented. The these 3 years, 2021, 22, and 23, the growth rate was highly negative, less than even minus 20%. And what is the reason for this is not completely clear, but it is not widely recognized as an AI winter. However, we believe that it is not imprudent to call it as a second AI winter because it is only the second instance in the history of AI research when publications fell by more than 20%. So if you see here that this was the first AI winter when the publication fell by more than 20%, and here publications fell by much larger amount and over a period of 3 years. So it can also be labeled as a second AI winter, right? The reasons for this are not completely clear. One potential reason could be the COVID-19 pandemic. So the causal events are not completely clear, but one potential reason could be the COVID pandemic, which created a reorientation of the research activity and research funding as well. And another reason could be the elasticity that we discussed earlier, that because there was this unprecedented boom here, this fall was bound to happen. So this boom also you can see is unprecedented. Such, there have been higher peaks before, but they lasted for only 1 year. But here, this large peak has lasted for about 5 years, and this unprecedented boom probably also led to an unprecedented bust. So this boom, as you can see, was huge, from 170,000 publications to 600,000, an increase of more than 3.5 times, right? From 2014 to 2019. And so, uh, so we can say that some of this bust was expected, some of this winter was expected, but probably it was also increased because of COVID, right? Now, what can we see for the future? What can we predict for the future? So, as I said, that this data was most of this analysis and this work was done at the end of 2023. So, we can predict the future that another boom is expected in 2024 in AI research and publications. Uh, it will be partly led by generative AI, which is definitely one of the revolutions of our times. No one could have imagined that a computer will have such a good command over language so soon, right? So this definitely is the future, and that is what I have tried to show in this chart, that we expect Gen AI boom in the future. But from the history, this Gen AI boom, everybody is predicting it, right? Everybody is talking about it. It is talked in the media, it is talked in the academia, it is talked in the industry. But what more conclusion can we draw from this study? We the important conclusion that we can draw from this study is that AI booms are followed by bust and vice versa. So given that there is going to be an AI boom, we can almost certainly say, learning from history, that the current boom in interest is almost certain to be followed by a bust, right? This is the primary learning from this study of his AI research history, uh, that I wanted to bring to your attention, that this spurt of interest and activity and hope and optimism has been seen repeatedly in the AI history. And then it was followed by a fall in the interest as well when it was learned that no, what we were expecting is not really true. The AI systems are not uh, universally capable, or it is not we are not very close to AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, right? So thank you so much for your time and attention. You can ask any questions.